We're speaking about the players that have been let go from Kaizer Chiefs. 3 have been let go so far that we know for sure of. It's a 31-year-old Dolly, the 31-year-old Sithebe, and the 34-year-old Hlanti that has been let go. But there's still another big issue here. And that is that of Itumeleng Khune.
What do you know, Andile?
He runs out of contract.
Of the show, you have some information.
Hold on. He runs out of contract as well, does he not?
Yes. And the club actually last year this time said this would be the season that they were giving him would be his last.
But last night, Croatia, my heart broke for them, The beautiful game, football, I love it. Modric sitting on the bench could do nothing. Italy clinching it at the death. It was just crazy yesterday. Loved every minute of it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Croatia, Italy ending 1-1. And then Albania, Spain. Spain winning that by a goal, meaning that Italy and Spain go through. But also, last night, there was a matter of wee hours of this morning. There was a matter of Brazil playing in the Copa. Ronaldinho right now has been proven right. This Brazilian team just not ticking. Watching Neymar on the stands, just he was saddened, man. He was saddened. Uruguay beating Panama, the USA beating Bolivia. Today, this match is currently underway as we speak. The later matches are Denmark versus Serbia, England versus Slovenia. Anybody in that group can still go through. That's Group C. But right now, France versus Poland and the Netherlands versus Austria. Austria have already scored. It's 1-0. Austria are leading the Netherlands. The Netherlands, one of the favorites in this tournament at the moment. Marlon scoring an own goal in the 6th minute. It does mean that Austria are leading at the moment. And if it ends this way with 6 points, they go through and France go through. The Netherlands need to win this match with all they can, or at least get a draw and force it into other things. And it could be France, Poland, or rather France, the Netherlands that we're talking about. But that's not part of the show today. Part of the show today is speaking a little bit of cricket with Cass, who's coming up all the way from the West Indies. She is at the T20 World Cup. We'll speak about the Proteas and their fortunes having changed so much in the last year or so. But the big one, Mazola Molefe at Super Journal has done it again. He's broken the news that Chiefs are trying to keep a very tight lid on. Players have been let go from Kaizer Chiefs. Some big names as well out of the players that have been let go at Kaizer Chiefs. We'll discuss the players that have left Kaizer Chiefs. We'll take your calls top of the hour, just before top of the hour, 7 o'clock, about those players. And the big question, though, because I know some facts of things that have happened in the last 48 hours about Itumeleng Khune at Kaizer Chiefs. We'll speak about that too. Coming up on the show tonight.
The youth of 2024.
Our education is getting inferior and inferior, more and more, whereby now they were introducing Africans to all the subjects, whereby it was going to make us even more and more difficult to learn.
Your battles may differ from those faced by the youth of 76, but your courage is no less remarkable.
Remember, the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose.
Metro FM. Celebrating the leaders of tomorrow. Today. Sports Night Amplified with Andile on Metro FM. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sports.
It's breaking news and exclusive to SABC.com. Broken by Mazola Molefe, the Super Journal. Kaizer Chiefs have said goodbye to some top players within their squad. Remember, the assessment by the assistant coach, the cruise has been underway over the past couple of days, and they've already started letting go of some players. Mazola Molefe now joins us all the way from Port Elizabeth. Super Journal.
Good evening.
How's Port Elizabeth?
Yeah, 4 seasons in one here. In the morning it was raining. In the afternoon there was sunshine. Now it's cold.
Yeah, it's crazy, but you got to love it. It's one of my favorite parts of South Africa. And how's the tournament, though? How's the organization? How's the access to players? How's the hype around it? The games are free. People can go and watch. Are people going to be exercising that and going to watch?
Well, we hope so. Obviously, the tournament kicks off tomorrow with Group A, Bafana playing later on against Mozambique, and obviously Botswana and Eswatini kicking things off. Yes, tickets are free. the vibe, I guess we'll find out, in the next 24 hours or so what actually happens. But the access to players, because I'm also part of the COSAFA team helping out as well. And we've had access. I've actually interviewed a Chiefs player that's also out of contract at Milson Dove. He's with the Mozambique national team. So look out for that interview on sabcsport.com as well as our radio stations as well. Looking forward to the start of the tournament.
Hey, before we speak about Kaizer Chiefs and the players that have been let go and take those names out there, very quickly, you wrote about Mojela. We had him on the show here, and he was saying, yes, as much as he's got Lesotho citizenship and they've been calling him day in and day out saying, come and play for us, he doesn't want to play for them. He wants to play for South Africa. And finally, he's down there with South Africa. Have a listen to this first. Every time Babita Squad Sabafana, somebody tells me because you ask yourself, why not you?
Motivation where I must just keep on working hard. Maybe my time will come. Because I had an opportunity to change nationality. I got to return to
Why?
I have to work hard for the Bafana collab. That's how I smell one.
For those that don't know, Bradley, how are you associated with Lesotho to South Africa? Lesotho can call you up for Lesotho. Lesotho. Have you ever had a call from Lesotho? And you think you deserve Bafana and you think you'll play Bafana Bafana?
I deserve it. So you can see throughout the season, I've worked hard. I give central defenders stress. Every game, every 2 or 3 people are on me every time.
The confidence of Mojela is something else. I absolutely love chats with him. Very honest and very pure in how he answers questions. He wanted to play for Bafana Bafana. He said his roots in Lesotho can forget him. And finally, he's there, Mazon.
Yeah, I was actually at the Bafana training session earlier on. Had a chat with Coach Helman Kelele, as well as the captain. The captain for this team will be Rushwin Dolly, who of course plays for Cape Town City, who recently got relegated. But the funny story about Mojela is that he, at the time of the squad announcement, remember Coach released a list of about 50 players, and Mojela was still, listed as a TX Galaxy player. And if you remember, on the back of that, the TX Galaxy player were said to not be available for the national team. But he's off to Stellenbosch now, and Stellenbosch said, well, the player is available. You can gladly have him for the national team. That's why he finds himself in that squad now that takes over the COSAFA Challenge.
Brilliant. I love it for him. All the best to Mojela there and the rest of a very Western Cape heavy team, this Bafana. But when you look at
I get the Gauteng teams refused to release players. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was TS Galaxy, Sundowns, Pirates, Chiefs. There's one more.
I think TX Galaxy, Kaizer Chiefs. I can't recall of anybody else in the Gauteng-based teams that had players in the national team. Maybe it's Khune. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to have a look at that 51-man squad again. But maybe you could say there's a Mamelodi Sundowns player there, in the sense that Malebogo Modise, who's leaving Chipa United and going back to Sundowns, is in that squad as one of the options at left back. So,
actually, Golden Arrows is the other one. Anyway, that's not why you're here. Yeah. You're here to speak about the big breaking news. Kaizer Chiefs have let go of some players. The story is available on sabcsport.com. Go out there and catch the very latest on news. And Mazola Molefe and this team have been brilliant with this Kaizer Chiefs tracking and stories. Kaizer Chiefs have been assessing a couple of players. There's specific players that they wanted to assess more than the others. What has been the assessment criteria by the incoming crews?
Well, I'm not sure of the exact details of what the coach was looking for, but I would assume, given that he got the job and he's here along with the goalkeeper coach and the fitness coach, they had been watching videos. I can only assume that they'd been seeing clips and at least maybe, at the very least, half of the matches from the previous season, which unfortunately Keegan Dolly, for instance, didn't get to play much of because he struggled a lot with injuries. As we know, he was in the final year of his contract. So was Sithebe as well, who, funny enough, in the final weeks of the season, Coach Kevin Johnson had seemed to trust him again and threw him in the deep end. He played a couple of games, and I say he had produced a couple of good performances. Hlanti was ever present this season alone. Hlanti played about 24, 25 matches, missing a few due to suspension and some injury niggles here. So out of all of them, you'd think maybe Hlanti is the one who stood the best chance of being able to get his contract renewed, but be that as it may, he's on his way out. All three of them are on his way out. As I said, there are still some that are not there. Jabulo Ngobo, for instance, has been heavily linked with the move to Sekhukhune United, who are yet to confirm whether he's arrived or not. But my understanding is that he will be joining Sekhukhune United. He didn't even wait for Kaizer Chiefs to call him in for a meeting. And of course, again, the big one that we've been talking about for some time now, Itumeleng Khune.
So we'll get to it now. So just to confirm, Dolly has been let go from Kaizer Chiefs. He's been released. Hlanti's been released. The 34-year-old, the 31-year-old Dolly, as well as the 31-year-old Sithebe. All three of them have been released out of their contracts at the end of June, I think it is anyway. So the three of them depart from Kaizer Chiefs. Their relationship is over. Goodbye. Those are the only three confirmed ones so far.
As far as I know, I'm trying to remember which other players are out of contract besides Khune. Yes, I mentioned Itumeleng Khune. They mentioned Edmilson Dove as well as Jabulo Ngobo. Edmilson didn't give away too much this afternoon, but I suspect the fact that he's maybe chosen his national team over a pre-season training camp that actually determines his career could suggest maybe he's leaving, but we won't know for sure until, obviously, in this instance, the club calls him in for a meeting or maybe speaks to his agent at the end of the week regarding to his future. But he does have an option in his contract, which could also suggest that maybe the club will trigger the option, hence they've allowed him to represent his national team. He's the only really senior player in that Mozambique team, by the way, having gone to the AFCON with them earlier in the year and played in the most recent World Cup qualifiers. The rest are made up of under 23 players. So the coach asked Edmilson Dove to join the team just to help him steer the team in terms of his experience, and because, of course, he's been based in South Africa for so long, he understands the environment.
The clear-out of Chiefs has begun. Hlanti, Dolly have been let go, and Sithebe as well. There's George Matlo and Potsani. I think they're also running out of contract, are they not?
They are also running out of contract. I'll have the latest on that as well. I have received some information. I'm just still trying to verify.
So we'll know soon what's happening with those two in particular, because the players, and this is what I was getting at when I was asking you about the assessment criteria, is Chiefs are first looking at players that are running out of contract to say, do we extend their contracts or do we let them go without exercising the option?
Yes. I suppose it's easier when a club is faced with the decision to either trigger an option or offer a new contract, because if the coach feels, look, we can look elsewhere for a left back, we can look elsewhere for a midfielder, we can, in Keegan Dolly's case, we can look elsewhere for a dynamic, younger attacking midfielder. Then if the coach says, well, let's do that, then it's easier to call them in for a meeting and say, guys, we're letting you go. But I personally think, Andile, it's a bit unfair in that these players should have been told at least by the end of May, because now their other rival clubs have filled in some of these positions. And look at Hlanti's age, look at Sithebe's age, look at Keegan Dolly's age. It's not going to be easy to move from a Kaizer Chiefs, perhaps on a decent package, to now suddenly try to negotiate a club that's going to take you in as a free agent before the season kicks off, when most of them are already going back for pre-season this week or early next week. I just think it was a little bit unfair. Yes, I understand Kaizer Chiefs maybe had to wait for their coaching situation.
Just hold that thought for me, Mazola. Hold that thought for me. Let me take a break because I still want to cover the Itu Khune issue too. If you're just joining us, Mazola Molefe out in Port Elizabeth covering the COSAFA for SABCsport.com is with us. We're speaking about the players that have been let go from Kaizer Chiefs. 3. have been let go so far that we know for sure of. It's a 31-year-old Dolly, the 31-year-old Sithebe, and the 34-year-old Hlanti that has been let go. But there's still another big issue here, and that is that of Itumeleng Khune.
What do you know, Andile?
He runs out of contract.
The show, you have some information.
Hold on, he runs out of contract as well, does he not?
Yes, and the club actually last year this time said this would be the season that they were giving him would be his last.
So I know that he had a meeting with Kaizer, Junior, and Senior. That I know for a fact. But I also know that after that meeting, unlike the others who didn't go back to training, Itu is training. So I'm not sure, because people that were called into those meetings clearly aren't making it back to the field.
Yeah. Look, I think with Itu, you probably have to deal with it a little bit differently. You know, he's been at Kaizer Chiefs since he was 13 years old. He knows nothing else but Kaizer Chiefs. If you open him up, maybe his heart is black and gold, you know. So I think you have to approach it differently. Yes, the club had made a decision that he's gonna leave. Itu contradicted that a few months later when he spoke ahead of the Soweto Derby that he's not ready to retire, and he's not gonna retire out of anybody else's terms but his own terms. So maybe that meeting that you say happened between him, the chairman, as well as the sporting director, probably we will have more information with regards to what was actually said if Itu then turned up the next day for training and not on Tuesday with the players who are out of contract.
Yeah, so that's a big thing over and above it, is there something that's been offered to Itumeleng Khune over and above playing again, and is that something that an Itumeleng Khune would be wanting to take? The last time we heard Itumeleng Khune speak, he wants to play.
I was about to say exactly that. I don't think that's changed. You know, Khune has insisted, even when he got suspended by the club in December, made it into the Carling All-Star team. The interviews that Khune gave, he made it clear that he still has it in him to at least give us another 2 years at the very least, try to push himself until he's 40 years old. He made examples of a Gigi Buffon who played at the highest level, went to World Cups, played in the UEFA Champions League at the ripe age of 40. And Khune wants to emulate that. And hence I'm saying the way the club has gone about it at the moment is a bit ambiguous. It's a bit confusing because they told their fans that Khune would be in the last contract of his Kaizer Chiefs tenure, then had that, what I thought was a poorly arranged sort of thank you for your 25 years of service.
No. It's not. It was beyond poor. It was diabolical. It was shameful.
I'm trying to open doors for a good relationship with Kaizer Chiefs here, Andile. You know, when you want me to hammer all the time, hey, this guy.
No, but you got to call it what it is.
Yes, I'm saying it was a poorly arranged farewell, you know. And on the back of that, then we are still asking ourselves questions of whether Itu is leaving or not. We heard what Hlompo Kekana said as well, a teammate of his at the national team level, saying he thinks Khune should retire now, otherwise he risks hating the game. We await yet again. As far as I'm concerned, Khune on Friday will not be a Kaizer Chiefs player unless Kaizer Chiefs says something.
So what we do know is that there's a deal that's been struck, some sort of deal. There's an agreement. Well, let's not say deal. There's an agreement at Kaizer Chiefs with Itumeleng Khune, but we don't know what that agreement is so far. But Friday will be telling, because that's the end, really.
Absolutely. If the chairman himself will step out and entertain a veteran of the game, a veteran of the club, and sit down with him alongside the sporting director to discuss his future, surely that meeting is not just to have coffee and ask how are you doing and move on. It has to look forward into what the future holds for the player that played and served them for well over 2 decades. But as I said, by Friday, I suspect we should have a clearer picture as to what is happening. But as things stand, Itumeleng Khune is reported for duty.
Well, there you have it. I mean, if after that meeting, Itumeleng Khune is still reporting to duty, one could ask maybe, is there an assessment still to be done with the new goalkeeper coach who's said, hey, let me see him and make the decision. But Friday is D-Day, surely. Friday is the day that all of this must come to some sort. Because Itumeleng Khune, if he's not going back to Kaizer Chiefs, needs to make himself available for the teams that might be looking at him as well. So he can't play along.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because that's important then for him if he still wants to play.
Absolutely. Hence, I was saying earlier that it's also unfair to Keegan Dolly. I mean, maybe one would say Ncube was the more proactive one in deciding. Yeah. Hang on, Chiefs are not saying anything. I'm going ahead and making a decision on my future and signing for another club because the deadline to trigger his option had passed. Because when you have an option in your contract, it does say in the contract exactly when the club should trigger the option. It could either be at the end of the season by the 30th of June, or it could be at the end of May. A lot of the players, from what I know and what I have seen, a lot of the contracts have a stipulation that it should be triggered by the 31st of May. The case in point, Jody February at Mamelodi Sundowns. Mamelodi Sundowns then went ahead and triggered the option at the end of May so that he has one more year with the club. So Ncube was more proactive. Sithebe, Dolly, and Hlanti then decided to wait, hoping for good news. And unfortunately, today they got the worst news from the club's point of view.
Am I correct in saying that Mfundo Vilakazi's contract runs till 2028?
I think from I can't remember, but I think the club did make an announcement that he had signed a long-term contract, which would usually be around a 4+1, which would be a 4 years, straight 4 years plus an option. But I say that based on communication from the club and his agent. I haven't seen the contract myself, but when he got promoted to the senior team, he was in fact offered a.
That is smart business by Kaizer Chiefs. That is very smart business by Kaizer Chiefs. Well, Mazola, we'll await the news by Friday, but let me give you my take. I don't know if it's worth anything, but let me give you my take. I think, Chiefs owe Itumeleng Khune some respectability, and hence, they need to deal with his exit, which is imminent from Kaizer Chiefs, in a different manner to how they deal with it from any other person. Those are my thoughts, but it is imminent. I don't think that Kaizer Chiefs are retaining the services of Itumeleng Khune.
I agree. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Mazola Molefe, he's out of here. But if there is breaking news, we'll be the first to make that call. SABCsport.com, @Superjournal on social media for big breaking news.
And Instagram as well,
Instagram, next time, I can go jumpy says, because Kiboni Usiwani Rago P. I can go jumpy says.
Instagram followers.
Mazola Molefe on Instagram as well. If you see something, tag his wife. She's always looking. Thank you so much, Mazola.
Cheers, man.
Hey, it's an international celebrity joining us, signing autographs and taking pictures around the world with fans who are just huge lovers of her craft. I knew one day would come when she'd be too big for us. But until that day, at least, we get to have her on the show. Cas Naidu, cricket commentator and founder of G Sport Awards, and currently covering the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. Cas, do we need to take time out? Do you have paparazzi currently sniping at the moment?
That's poor form. We've had a pact all our careers, all right? We've had a pact. We don't change. We still stay the same.
Okay. No. I mean, geez, I don't know. When people start asking for selfies outside of South Africa, then I start to wonder if we're the same. But listen, I said a little bit earlier, Cass, I said, this is probably where we are right now with the Proteas, with South Africa, is probably the closest and the cleanest and clearest route and shot we've ever had to winning an ICC tournament. Because it seems all the dominoes at the moment are falling for South Africa. Even when the big hitters aren't hitting big, even when the tight bowlers are a little bit expensive, it seems things are going our way. Am I right to be excited? As the English say, is it coming home?
Oh my word, it feels that way, doesn't it? It feels like In previous campaigns, South Africa have won emphatically the opening games. They've won until they've gotten to the crunch game, and then in the crunch game, they've bottled. This has been different. They've scraped across the line. They've been involved in some low-scoring thrillers. There were games perhaps they shouldn't have won, like the England game, for instance. Nepal. They got across the line. For me, what I'm banking is they are yet to put together the perfect game. And there's no better time than right now. Semi-final and final. There's two games. They would have dreamt about this moment. They would have thought and planned and wondered. And no team in the world would have thought we are staring at the last four without an Australia side there in our way.
Imagine, wow. And last four with Afghanistan in it.
Come on. But, let's look at Afghanistan. What a journey it's been, right? Last 12 to 14 years, they've had to climb this ladder. And for many years in the early stages of their journey, they were the whipping boys of international cricket. And everyone knew that they had some good spinners. They had one or two journeymen in their team. They've now got a really good chance, an opportunity to beat South Africa and Trinidad. I know we're looking at it from a South African perspective to say there hasn't been a clearer path. Since 99, perhaps when we should have beaten Australia in the semi-final and got to the final, there hasn't been a clearer path. But do not underestimate Afghanistan. Do not think, we'd rather face Afghanistan than Australia. Because this is a team that have all their bases covered. They've got excellent new ball bowlers. They've got a spin trio that can take you apart. And they've got two of the best opening batters in the tournament so far that have racked up over 440 runs together.
If you're just joining us, Cass Naidu, cricket commentator, international cricket commentator, founder of G Sport Awards, joining us. Trinidad and Tobago will host the first semi-final at the event between South Africa and Afghanistan. Yes, you heard me right. South Africa, Afghanistan in the semi-final. India and England battling it out in the second knockout contest all the way in Guyana. Dates, teams, venues have all been confirmed. The stage has been set. The other match is the other one that I'm looking at, and I mean, it might be a tall order to say I don't want India in the final. I'm supporting England because I just feel we have a better chance of beating England than India in the final if it so happens.
I don't think you can call these last games. It's really about owning the pressure moments. One of my directors, Gavin Scovell, often says to me when I get out there for a big game, he says, Cass, pressure is a privilege. Not many people get to feel that pressure. And I think that's such a good way to look at it, that these last two games to head into a state in South African cricket we have dreamt of for 30 years now, to hold aloft a World Cup trophy. It's really about owning the pressure moment. So whoever they face, they will have to do that. I am in Guyana. I've been asked by the ICC to host the semi-final between England and India. So that's my second semi-final coming up on the 27th. But I'm so glad I'm not working the South Africa-Afghanistan game because I just want to be a fan again. And I haven't been able to for many years now. It's always working at the game, being like stressed but also professional. And now I get to sit back in my hotel room and watch this game unfold. The thing about England and India is that some feel that England are peaking at the right time. Defending champions could go all the way. But I did the India game yesterday, India-Australia, so I'm even forgetting where I am, but I was somewhere in St. Lucia, that's where I was. And, geez, India are looking good, hey? They're looking ominous. Rohit Sharma played one of the innings of the tournament. He took Mitchell Starc for a 29-run over, 4 sixes. And they're in devastating form. But I think all the teams heading into the last four have got some big match winners. South Africa is probably the only team that has largely underperformed their way into the semis. I don't think it's a bad thing. A couple of ugly wins under your belt. At some stage, it's going to look pretty. At some stage, Markram's going to come off. Hendricks is going to come off.
Oh, but River Hendricks, Cass. I mean, what is it, 2 decks now? And I think that the most runs he scored is 19, if just under 19 in this tournament. When you reach these stages, and I heard Rob Walters coming up in his defense and saying, yeah, he's struggling, but he's good for the team. He'll get in there. The more he's out on the field there, the more on the wicket, the more he's able to get those knocks out. But I just worry. I worry when you got a Reza Hendricks that's not playing up to date.
you can say the same about Virat Kohli, right? 2 5-ball ducks in the tournament. One of the players at the tournament last year at the Cricket World Cup in India. Reza's an excellent player, and for some reason, it's just not coming off. We saw that with Temba too, I think, in the 2022 World Cup, where he was struggling for runs. It's just we're not able to get that perfect opening stand together. Hate going back to the Smith-Gibbs partnership, but whenever they walked out, you knew you were going to get damage from both ends, and I almost feel like that's what South Africa need against Afghanistan. You got Fazil Haq Faruqi, Naveen ul Haq, who are devastating in the power play, but then you've also got someone like Mohammad Nabi with his spin. They're going to be seriously tested against Afghanistan. The best route for South Africa to the final, they've got to put runs on the board and put pressure on Afghanistan, who've never made a semi-final. South Africa have made semi-finals. For the first time, they're not the underdog going in. They're not the ones that people say, well, we'd back Australia because they've won World Cups. South Africa have the experience of walking out in a semi-final. There should be no nerves. They have won a knockout game in this tournament, so that they should really be able to hold on to. And that knockout game was against West Indies. Win and go through, lose and you're out. They have never been under more pressure. And it got tight at the end. Rabada, I think it was the best shot he's played in his career to get those 4 runs, and then Janssen hitting a 6 to get us across the line. West Indies will look back at that game and think, oh, we shouldn't have given it away. But I look back at that game and say, how cool to see a South African team that's not predictable. We always start with pace. They always just take us, to pieces. Markram's captaincy, okay, he hasn't got...
And that's where I was going to go with it, about his captaincy, because I heard Rob Walters once again speaking about his captaincy. What have you made of his captaincy?
Brilliant captain. He is an outstanding leader. Remember, Aiden Markram is the only South African captain to have won a Cricket World Cup back in 2014 as the under-19 captain. Rabada and him will have memories of knowing what it feels like to have not been fancied in the tournament, but going on to win a title. So he's an exceptional leader. And for me, the victory against West Indies was 12 overs of slow bowling. West Indies did not see that coming. Rabada only bowled towards the end, 2 overs, 1 for 11. Exactly where South Africa struggled in the death bowling stakes, right? But again, what will the game plan be against Afghanistan? What are they expecting, and what are we going to toss up? For Markram to take the responsibility to bowl in the power play, 1 for 28 in 4 overs, you would take that any day. But it's the batting, right? We want the batting to come right. Everyone's got a couple of starts. Miller's probably been the most impressive. He's shown that he has the ability. I'm impressed with Tristan Stubbs. I mean, he was top scorer in the game against West Indies, where others could have perhaps gone ahead of him. He'll be disappointed he gave it away and wasn't there at the end. It's the batting that needs to come together against Afghanistan, because they're going to be really tested from start to finish.
Hey, man, I'm looking forward to it. Just off topic a little bit, Cassia, because I'm going to come back to it just to wrap up. Sportsmanship has become such a big pivotal thing, and cricket, known as the gentleman's game, has always been big on sportsmanship. That's why in cricket, if you're busy doing your run up and the batter says I'm not ready, you just gracefully go back, and even when you're talking a little bit of smack, it can't be anything that's derogatory. It's been a gentleman's game for a very long time. Now it's a ladies' and gentlemen's game. Seeing soccer antics on a cricket pitch kind of threw me off. Seeing players on the ground trying to kill time because they're looking at Doc with Lewis methods, I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be talked about for a long time. Where does the spirit of cricket fit in such a competitive space, but also where cricketers are so hungry to get across the line with success? It's going to be trending way past this tournament. I'm old-fashioned. Remember, I've got 3 young children who play cricket, so I keep going on about the basics of the game, and one of the basics of the game is really to respect the game. I'd be interested to see how ICC approach it and what stance they take and how they do that, but it's become quite a meme, hasn't it, across Instagram in particular, is just what players are prepared to do in order to get across the line. I'm very old-fashioned in my ways, and I always believe that the spirit of cricket should be the most important thing, because at the end of the day, you want to be good human beings before you are talented sports stars.
Yeah, a purist indeed. The only person who I know who still love to see a 5-day game over a T20 game any day. Cass Naidoo. Cass, am I right to get, and I'm putting you straight on the line here. Am I right to look past Afghanistan and think, who does South Africa want to play in the final? Can we take the final? Fine, the final can be anybody's game because, that's an hour or two that you just don't know which way the ball will swing. But as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I ask you this because you were there. You saw them play in their last game. You saw the weather playing a part in that. You saw, the injuries and all that happened, the drama that ensued in that match. Am I right to look past Afghanistan, regardless of, the good, the little good and then and the luck that they've had as well? But surely we're a better team.
South Africa
with better
never
history.
made a World Cup final. They've never made a World Cup final. India and England know how to get into a final and also to win a final. That would be the challenge once they get past Afghanistan, if they do, is that moment of walking out, national anthems are being played, you are in a World Cup final, just 40 overs away from winning, right? That's going to be the big challenge. We've never been in a senior men's cricket World Cup final. From an Afghanistan perspective, can they settle themselves down for the second time in a week, having beaten Australia, then beaten Bangladesh, and in their first World Cup semi-final? That's where South Africa have got to capitalize. They've got to say, guys, our emotions are settled. We've been so rattled throughout this entire tournament. We've been under pressure. We've calmly gotten ourselves to this position. We are much more established, much more senior than this Afghanistan team. Win the toss, lose the toss, it doesn't matter. Bowl well, hold on to your catches, bat with ease, and get into our first ever men's cricket World Cup final at a senior level. That is the aim, one step at a time. And, as they say, if you look past the moment that you need to own, you may miss that moment. And I would hate for them to miss the moment, to wonder who they're going to play in the final. Whoever they play in the final, they know their opponents really well. Can they get across an Afghanistan team that have nothing to lose?
When you come back, when the dust is settled, when the guys are celebrating and doing the bus tour through Pretoria and in Cape Town in the CBD, I think the bigger conversation that we'll need to have, Cass, and I don't want to start it now because, the boys need to focus on what they need to focus on. What will this mean for South African cricket when a team that was highly criticized for not being within quota, so to speak, goes out?
That is a conversation I'm very keen to have because you know how I feel about the sincerity around inclusivity, diversity, and transformation, and I will always be that.
But here's a very non-transformed team at a World Cup on the verge of doing something no team has ever done before. Then the question we need to ask when we come back, and I don't want to get into it now because I can see already, I can hear in your voice, but what do we then say when a team that is not transformed, doesn't have the levels and the numbers of colored players or players of color that we normally want as a quota, goes all the way to a final or goes to win? Are we saying that, guys, look at this. The quotas have been the ones that have been, holding us down and putting pressure on our players. We have not been able to perform because of that. What's the conversation going to be then? Because how do you then deter those that say that? Cass, don't answer me now. I haven't thought about it, but I think it's a whole hour show with you in the studio when you do come back.
Oh, I hope you're ready.
Cass, I appreciate
nice
you.
Chat.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
It's going to be a conversation we need to have because we've been saying quotas. We've been saying you need a certain amount of black players in cricket teams and rugby team in order to satisfy the quota that allows for transformation to begin to happen. Then you look back and say, yes, when it was Lily White, before there was even a single player, before there was a Makai Ntini, we weren't getting into finals, right? It became a little bit worse, we must be honest. Because they at least got a semi-final. You remember it against Australia. What is it, the 482 game? Is it 482? I think it's 482 game, right? And then we've choked ever since. But we've then went and said, no, let's put black players in there. It did not help. A black captain even. It did not help. So here we are with one of the most untransformed teams in a very long time in South African cricket. Come on, or the replacement, yeah, but I'm saying pick players. Don't tell me about the replacement. That's Timmy speaking on the other side. You've got one that's there. And here they are. They've got Afghanistan to beat, and then they make history. They go to a final. Whether they win the final or not, they've already made the history. They would have gotten to an ICC tournament final, something no cricket team in this country has ever done, and they would have done so with no black players or just at least one. How then does an Andile sit here? And I need to think about it. I need to apply my mind to say, how do I defend? We need quotas. We need black players to be improved. Because then I can play back to Cricket South Africa and say, yeah, but if you haven't developed those players in order for them to get to that level and represent us at that level, where do you think they're going to come from? What is the pool of players we're picking from in the first place? Do you have a team, a franchise that is black-based, that are coming from Soweto, the biggest township, the biggest pool of anything in this country? The second biggest is Mtanzane, where cricket is pap and fleece and breakfast every day. But here we are, on the verge of history. And a mark of blackness right now to many, looking like a stain. Take a break. When we come back, we take your call. It's exactly 18:53 on the mighty Metro FM. Welcome to it. This is Sports Amplified with Andile. I am Andile Ncube. Taking your calls now on 086 000 2160, WhatsApp on 060 552 7303. Two conversations to have here. Kaizer Chiefs have let go of some players. Keegan, Dolly, Hlanti, as well as Sithebe are on that list. Itumeleng Khune, big question mark on that, but all evidence showing to the fact that Itumeleng Khune will have been released as well. We'll know that by end of this week. But also, transformation. We speak about transformation. We speak about the fact that we want more black players representing the Springboks, representing our cricket national team, the Proteas as well. We've seen what a black-led team has done in rugby. Back-to-back World Cups. Siya Kolisi and his boys, you look at Magazola Mampimpi and Lukhanyo Am and all the boys. They've done well. They've added to what we had at the Springboks. They've taken from what the Brian Habanas have done before them. The Chester Williams started before them. But what about in cricket? What about in cricket? Because now you have a team that is on the verge of qualifying for a World Cup, something no Proteas team has ever done, qualify for a World Cup final. And it also happens to be, since 1996, since Makhaya Ntini being the only black player in the team, the most untransformed team yet. Let's hear a voice note.
Drop us a voice note on 060 552 7303. Waking up, down turned up.
Itola maa. Ki big boy mahlakola ka magatloporo. Maa, I'm very happy ka mojela. Rena ka diplara tše soko national team, diplara tše ileng gore di fišagalla go apara jersey ya national team. So go bontšha gabotse gore o tlo bapala ka maikemišetšo le boitshepo bo bogolo a tseba gore o representa flag ya Afrika Borwa. So ke re good luck boy mojela. Ke big boy mahlakola ka gatloporo. Tango.
Andile Mzwengosi here from Springfontein. I am a bit unhappy about our team Kaizer Chiefs. We have to depend on leaks for news from our team, which is not right. Kaizer Chiefs knows that there's got millions of supporters who wants to know what's happening in the team, but they are keeping quiet. We don't know nothing what's happening. We have to depend on leaks like from you guys, and also have this reputable guy who also posts on Facebook, Lawrence Kohler. It's unfair. It's unfair. They need to upgrade the communications department or even fire the guy there.
Chiefs.
It's not right what they are doing. We
say
need
it all the time.
Directly from Kaizer Chiefs.
Well, when it comes, I can tell you now, it won't be here. Because as you know, Kaizer Chiefs don't come here. But guys, whatever it is you want to say, Kaizer Chiefs is a big team. Right now, Kaizer Chiefs have had a bit of a cold and they're sneezing. All of us are coughing. Because Kaizer Chiefs is a big team. That we cannot argue about. Big team. A team that is not transformed, doesn't have the level.
Shoma Nemambis. No man, I'm confused manje. If who cares says South Africa they never went to ICC World Cup. Just find out, I think it was late 90s, early 2000, there was a run out here and there between Udels Klosner, no Sean Paul.
That's the Australia game.
That game, it was a final.
It was a semi-final.
It was it was Alan Donald.
It was a semi-final.
And Ulen Klusner.
Alan
Donald was flop at the last ball
against Australia.
While they ran out and we lost that World Cup. Just find out for me.
I can tell you now. I don't need to find out. I can tell you now. I was watching that match. It was 99, and it was. I think it's called 482. That match. No. The 482 is the match that we won. That one, there was a run out in the semi-final with Alan Donald and Lance Klusner. In fact, we had Alan Donald and Lance Klusner on the show here, and we reminisced about that moment. It was definitely a semi-final against Australia. We're taking calls. Let's go straight to it. Let's start with Xolisa before we go to Jimmy Komakau. Xolisa is out in Johannesburg, wants to speak about Itumeleng Khune. Xolisa.
My man.
Puti.
I'm not happy at all. I don't like the way Kaizer Chiefs handles the Itumeleng Khune situation. I believe when I'm Mr. Ma'aguti, the negotiations has been ongoing for a very long time. And if Kaizer Chiefs wanted to offer Itumeleng Khune a position within the club, they should have created it long time ago, but they didn't. On the other side, when if Itumeleng Khune wanted to play football, then they should have just let him go and get employment somewhere. I know, Brahma Awuti, football owes no one a thing, but a gesture of some sort of appreciation to the service Itumeleng Khune offered the club would do justice to his service. And I think Kaizer Chiefs should have done better, should have handled it better. Remember, even Utabomok, I'm still crying about Utabomok. Utabomok never got a fair waiting. Yes.
I'll tell you what, Xolisa, because I'm looking at the calls now and the voice notes, and I think I underestimated your guys' feelings and what you want to say about this matter. So tomorrow's Wednesday. Let's focus on football. Let's bring this up and let me allow you guys to speak to Chiefs and address them, and let's have these conversations. You know, when I open up the lines and I allow you to go, I think let's have tomorrow be one of those days. I don't want to have to cut you, and I want to have to cut Jimmy off.
Please, do that from 6:30.
No, we'll do it before that. I'll play what Mazola had to say. We'll revisit the conversation. Then I'll let Amakosi come on, and football in general, because whether we like it or not, Itumeleng Khune served South African football, not just Kaizer Chiefs. So we'll have that conversation, Gomes.
I will be the first one to call from up because I'm not happy at all.
I can hear it. Thank you so much. Xolisa, Jimmy Komakau, please do forgive me on this one. It's 7 o'clock, top of the hour. Got to get out of here. Thank you so much. I can tell you that Netherlands have equaled the score. It's 1-1. They've equalized. It's 1-1. Netherlands lead the group now with 5 points. France, who are still yet to score against Poland, it's 0-0, are second. And as it stands now, Austria and Poland will be going out with matches to come in the group C with England, Denmark, Slovenia, and Serbia a little bit later. So as it stands now, if it ends this way, Netherlands, France go through. It's 7 after the hour, 7 for myself and my entire team. Pella. And so me.